Hey everybody, it's Paul from I Like to Paint Minis. Today's project, I've been asked a while back in some of my recent videos to maybe do a tutorial or how I paint a mini, and I'm going to take it as how I paint a mini and what I do based on the mini that I pick. As I mentioned, I am like the 50-50 guy out there in a sense of I like to paint with the acrylics and the speed paints and do special effects paints in that aspect. And anywhere, I'm not a pro, but I'm here to have fun, relieve my stress, and maybe you might pick something up from my video. So today we're going to need a miniature, and the miniature I've chosen for this project is Owlbear or Owlbear Family from Archon Studios. I backed their Day Slayer project. The owlbear, we're just going to paint that today. The kiddos, we're going to do in another video or use them for another miniature in that aspect. But otherwise, today we're going to do, as I mentioned, a 50-50 project with speed paints and acrylic. I'm going to call out the paints my best in the video that I'm using from Army Painter or other brands, if it be a via speed paint or acrylic, and try to tell you the brushes that I'm using and what type of method I'm using towards that, and tell you the tools that I'm using today, but also offer some alternatives for tools that are very affordable, or they were for me on a very tight budget. So we're going to get started here in a little bit. I want to thank you for joining. If you do like what you see, tell a friend, make a comment below, subscribe, or whatever you want to do. But I'd like to come back and view some more. Otherwise, we'll get started here in a couple minutes. Thank you. Hey everybody, it's Paul. I'm back. As you can see, I got some paints on my desk. I'm going to get ready to get started. The first thing we're going to be doing today is we're going to be dry brushing the owlbear for the slap chop method. I'll bring it up a little bit if the zoom comes in and out. I apologize, still getting used to my cameras from my phone and some other alternatives. We're going to dry brush the mini, so the speed paint takes for that. Now there's all different types of whites out there that you can use. To me, it doesn't really matter what I lay down as my white my white acrylic paint for the slap chop. Just make sure that I try to get good coverage, not too much coverage. And when I do the dry brushing, I usually try to have, a dry brush. It could either be an expensive dry brush, inexpensive. So for me, I haven't bought any expensive dry brushes. Even the Army Painter dry brushes are pretty reasonable. But since we're going to be using these a lot, I suggest, if you've watched a lot of other videos or if you haven't from other tutorials, basically you can go out and buy makeup brush kits. They have all different sizes for small spots, for big spots, whatever maybe you're doing for those coverages. And today, you can even have fun ones. If you can't see it, it's got Chester Cheeto on it. I thought those were cool. I picked those up. It was like $5 or $6 for like 5 dry brushes in different sizes. Smoking deal. As I mentioned too, I'm going to try to call out some of the paints I'm going to be using in the steps. I might forget something, but bear with me. So a lot of the paints I'm going to call out today for my slap chop method, I'm going to be using the Vallejo Model Color White. The reason I'm doing this is because I need to use up some of the other paints that I bought before they go to waste. And I'm going to use that. And for the owlbear itself, we're going to drop the speed paint on it called Hardened Leathered. Man, I love this one. It rocks. I've actually bought 3 bottles already. It's crazy. And then from the dry brushing perspective, I haven't decided as of yet if I'm going to be using from the acrylic line Fanatic Rudy Umber for the dry brush part, or if I'm going to use the old school Fur Brown from Army Painter Fanatic line. It just depends what strikes me during the middle of it. For the nails, like the toenails and stuff like that, I'm going to be using Brain Matter Beige. And that technique where I'll just apply it like normal, but then I'll hit it with a wash, either one of the oil paints, and yes, I do use Nolan oil. It's like magic in a bottle. And then I'll come back over with a light dry brush within those areas. And I don't have the paint out right now, but for the mouth, it's so small, I'm probably going to hit it white and do a speed paint of poppy red on it. You remember the word pop. You always want to make your models pop, especially if you're trying to impress your friends or do your own videos. It's great things that are out there, and you'll hear other miniature painters bring that up as well. And then for the eyes, it's going to be another drop of white paint, and we're going to hit those with speed paint. And it's one, I hear it in a lot of videos, people hate it, I love it. It's from the first line of speed paint 1.0, I think it's 2.0 as well. It's Zealot Yellow, right? This stuff for me, it rocks. I even use it for my rope, on boats, or if a guy has a belt with a rope or whatever it may be within those areas. It's awesome, man. I dig it. So I can't say enough about it. If you're old like me, you're going to need readers, or you're going to need big magnifying glasses are out there. We're going to need a speed paint cup or a popper or wherever you put your speed paints. I got this because of Uncle Adam. He wasn't selling them, but he recommended it. The paint comes out quick. It's easy to clean. They're inexpensive. It works for two things, your paints, but also for your stress when you're popping out those paints. You got a popper. Also today I'll be using a wet palette from the Army Painter. It's basically, it's a foam pad underneath with a piece of parchment paper on top, and they work great to make your acrylic paints last longer. And if you're new in the hobby, I would suggest, I'll go over some things. I wouldn't run out and just buy a wet palette from any manufacturer till you really know you're going to get in the hobby. I took some of the tutorials, and there's ways you can build themselves. Get like a little Tupperware dish, those sandwich dishes, and then you can drop a wet paper towel in it, not too wet, but wet enough, and drop some parchment paper over it. Bam, you got a wet palette. It's pretty cheap. As I mentioned about dry brushes, I haven't bought Artist Opus yet. Don't get me wrong, they're probably awesome, just not in my budget right now. And if you're new, like I mentioned, go out to Amazon, type in acrylic paint brushes, and you'll get more than you want to see. I would suggest buying some of the cheapest ones out there that make your hobby reasonable. Also, these ones, I would say too, use them for speed paints. As I'm going to mention multiple times, is speed paints are awesome, but it's a different type of texture on your brush in that aspect. So make sure those are like throwaway brushes after so many uses. And then eventually, once you get into the hobby, you might want it for your acrylics. You're going to hear Winsor Newton 7 or this or that. I actually bought a couple, and they're pretty nice, but for the fine details. My brushes cost me about 30 bucks each, and I almost had a heart attack. Suggest having clean water close by if you can't see it on my desk. For rinsing your brushes, I have 2 cups, and the only reason I have 2 cups is one's for my speed paints, one's for my acrylic. And don't drink your paint water. If you have a coffee cup that you're using as a rinse cup, make sure your other coffee cup's away from it. People talk about it in early videos that I watched. It does happen. We'll leave it at that. Otherwise, we'll get started here. So I'm going to take some of my Vallejo paint, shake it up, and if you can't see it in the background, maybe you do or not, you might even see a dog pop up. I got dogs. I'm going to go ahead and mix my paint because I'm old and I'm tired of shaking bottles of paint. You'll figure that out as time goes on. It's not going to take too much because if you use consistently the certain paints that you use for basing or whatever, they're going to be mixed a lot, right, in that aspect. Put a little bit on my palette right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and get me the right size, I apologize, dry brush here for this miniature. Every dry brush, you'll figure it out eventually, has its own size for something you're going to use. Another tool you're going to need to have handy by is paper towels. Doesn't matter what brand of paper towels, there's nothing special about it. Because you're going to want your dry brush to be as dry as possible. You're not going to want to have it wet like your acrylic brushes. For me, the way I do it is, I get it over here in the acrylic paint, if you can see. If not, you will in the future. And then I bring it over to one of my paper towels. And I'll show you if you can see it. I try to get off as much as I can, but leave a little bit on there because I like my dry brushes for slap chop to be so chalky in a way where you'll see maybe dust particles sometimes or you won't. This is a smaller mini. And then we'll just take the dry brush. By the way, this is from the Army Painter Masterclass sign. I think there was like 3 brushes in that set. I don't know, but I have a great feeling it cost me under 20 bucks, right? They work great. And they'll keep continuing to work great as I do this. You'll see me dry brushing, hopefully. Mention, clean your brushes. I might do a tutorial on that in a sense. And if you get a little bit thick on there, it doesn't matter. Just I wipe it with my finger. And by the way, you're going to get paint on your hands, no matter what, in that aspect. Sometimes you want to test your color on your finger too, right? Just doesn't matter. Stuff comes off. But what I mentioned about drying your brushes is the longer you take care of your brushes, the better they'll take care of you. So make sure you invest in some paint soap. I can get it at your local hobby store like Hobby Lobby, even off Amazon if you don't have a hobby store close to you. And they're basic. I use Master Paintbrush, I believe. It's a straight technique, but I'll do a tutorial on that. But you got to clean your brushes. Unless you know they're going to be throwaway brushes, like you're doing terrain or something like that. And then who cares, right? Throw them away. Just buy cheap brushes. Big, fat acrylic brushes. Big fatties. Otherwise, I'm going to hit this guy with the dry brush. He's almost done. And then we'll let, you know, with the dry brushing, the part about, for me, on Slap Chop is where I get impatient. And you'll figure it out in my videos, too. I'm a very impatient person by nature. Probably drink too much coffee like other people. But is you're going to need to let it dry a little bit because it is actually an acrylic paint. I mean, if you hit it right quick with the Army Painter speed paints, or even the other brands like Citadel on their, I can't remember the name of the paints now, but basically they have their version of a speed paint, right? I apologize for forgetting that. That's what happens when you get a little bit older. But otherwise, it's going to run. And, you know, and that's the look you're going for, that's great, right? But for me, I don't want runny. I want it just to be fun. Have fun with it. That's the main goal of having the fun with this project. So we pretty much got this guy covered with the dry brush, right? What's great about this Owlbear, hold on, let me set this brush down real quick, is this dude or this lady, if it's the mama or papa Owlbear, got so many different ridges for the fur and some of the owlbear feathers, is that the speed paint, I got a really good feeling, it's gonna make this miniature pop, right? And it's gonna be awesome. I think once I get this all said and done and with the base and everything, I'm gonna talk to my DM from our Dungeons and Dragons group that we play, DMJ, maybe we can use this in a project or something down the line, or an alternative. I might just gift it to them, right? It might be something, because you'll find out in this hobby, if you start painting a lot, you're gonna have more miniatures than you know to deal with, right? And some people call it their pile of shame or their plastic crack addiction. Dude, it's all of it. So what I'm gonna do too is, I got a smaller dry brush. This was from a makeup kit. I'm gonna hit the mouth, right? Because I told you I wanna make the mouth pop with some poppy red, some blood, or whatever it may be, in that aspect. And once in a while, yeah, I hit it too hard, right? So all I have to do is come back over with my finger and hit it up and make sure it's not too much. Come back over some of the ridges. Otherwise, this is what's gonna make it fun and make it, you know, for me, the way I want it to look. So that's what it looks all slap chopped up with the white acrylic paint. And the next we'll start applying the first level of speed paint and go from there. Yeah, this is gonna be awesome. Hey everybody, I'm back. So let's start getting this guy slapped up with his first speed paint. Hardened leather, so definitely one of my favorites, as I mentioned earlier. Speed paint, still got to give them a shake. I think most of them have bearings in them. Sometimes the bearings get stuck in the bottom when they get clogged. But like I said, the frequently you use the paints, the more they're going to be mixed for you. So we'll get some hardened leather here into our palette. And sometimes, you know, they have the speed paint mediums, and the reason I actually had to ask Adam over at Army Painter, it's to help to keep the speed paint from drying, make it more translucent in that aspect. And sometimes I use that, and sometimes I just take a little bit of water from my brush, from my paint cup, or whatever you're using to get it more consistent. And here you go. This is the best part about speed paints. You just start kind of slapping it on. So I'm getting it on there now, trying to get the best coverage I can get in the areas. And I think after this dries, the next thing we're going to do is, you know, we're going to do one of or many first initial dry brushes, just depending on how it looks to me each time after it. I mean, I heard a lot of people in videos, it's a good idea to have a plan how you're going to paint your miniature, and you should, right? Have maybe a basic plan. That plan can change midway through. Probably shouldn't change midway through when you're doing a video, but you know, that's me. I'm kind of that person. But also, one of the things that I learned early on, and I learned after doing it, and I didn't listen to a lot of the good YouTubers that I watched out there, is that, you know what? One, don't compare yourself to others, which is really hard to do in anything, just general in life. But also, for speed paint, for painting, There's people that have been painting for 20, 30 years, 10 years. Some people just have a natural knack at it, right? And it's hard not to compare yourself to others or get caught up in the hype. Another thing too is when you buy a miniature, it's going to have artwork. And you know, it took me a long time to really understand is that artwork's awesome. And sure, someone's going to get close to it. But what you see on the box has been photoshopped by marketing or to make it look like you need to buy this mini. It's going to make you rock, right? Well, at the end of the day, I can never really get it to the art that it's going to be. I can get close. And so sometimes I use that as a guideline, and then I just go with what I want. Because guess what? It's my hobby, it's my money, and I'm going to do what I want, right? But it's hard, and you'll figure it out. I could maybe, as the old saying reads, I can bring you to the water as a horse, but I can't make you drink, right? And if you don't know that, you're young. Google it. Otherwise, you know, we're getting a good consistency of the speed paints on here. And as I mentioned, one of the next steps is we're going to get that dry brush going. And then, you know, we'll go back over the speed paints. Like I said, the mouth in itself is going to be red. The eyes are going to be yellow. The nails in itself will be the beige or the brain matter beige from acrylic from Army Painter. And then we'll do a wash on it and then kind of do a light dry brush. This miniature is not going to take that long, right? That's why I chose it for this video. Because I want to bore you for 22 minutes for that aspect. So we definitely got a good coverage going on this miniature. And when I come back, the next time you're going to see it as it's going to be dry, and then we're going to hit it. Hey, I'm back. So in essence of time and really me wanting to get to go play Baldur's Gate 3 and finishing up editing this video, I didn't do a few steps on camera because you'll see there'll be a big chunk of time where it's just me dry brushing, jamming out to some Sabbath. Hope you enjoy. Otherwise, what I did is I talked about, I went ahead and did the nails to ease of time, did a Nolan oil wash on those, came back over with the same Army Painter white that I used, or the beige brain matter, and then dry brush those lightly. And then the mouth, I did it as the poppy red as I talked about. And then I did the Zealot yellow for the eyes, and the beak a little bit, as if you can see. Eyes aren't my best forte, but you know what? Everyone has, you got to get better at something. And then I told you, sometimes the moment strikes me. So what I did is on the upper feathers and around the face, as you can see here, hopefully it'll zoom in enough for you, and some of the feathers on the arms, I went ahead and went back over and dry brushed on top of the original, and just to give it some more pop for me, I did Army Painter Warpaint Fanatic Command Khaki. Tried to hit those as best as I could. I don't think I'm gonna drop a wash on this. You might see some shiny areas, that's the speed paint. What I usually do, and I'll do this off camera because I don't want to bore you with it, I'll hit it with a matte varnish. That will help take away the shiny parts of it. And then for matte varnish, if you ever use it and it's like a soldier or fantasy and a sword and you want to get that glistening back on the sword, just hit, I mean, if you hit the sword by mistake, hit it with the shiny varnish from Army Painter or whoever you use. Otherwise, this next video is going to be when I potentially do the basing for this Owlbear and show you the supplies I use, what I do, and then go through the finished product. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for staying around if you watched. Like it if you like it. Subscribe if you want to subscribe it. Otherwise, share with your friends. Otherwise, have a great day, and thanks for joining I Like to Paint Minis and Your Time with Paul.